All right, everybody. Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Curtis Candy's GOOSHTASTIC podcast. If I say it like that, does GOOSHTASTIC, and I don't even know how that came out, but if I say it like that, does that make you more likely or less likely to join in again at any point? Um, Quick update for those of you listening to this as just audio. As we do our podcast, we record it as a live stream. We've moved our home for these live stream broadcasts. We are now at our YouTube channel, which is which is youtube.com/the Spaz Gamer. The easiest way to find us on YouTube is to just YouTube search Spaz Boys Comedy, and we will pop right up there for you. Again, this is episode 4 of the podcast. You can find us at any of your favorite podcast locations. Again, if you would like, by all means, drop right by Spaz Boys Comedy YouTube channel. You can join us here. We've got a whole group. Let me see how many people we got in here. Hold on a second. We've got a whole group of people in here. It's not updating, so I couldn't tell you for sure. We've got a whole group of people in here, though, already right now, looking to chat with us. We're going to keep the podcast here at the YouTube channel where there's more interaction. I will, for those of you who are regulars at our live streams, and we have lots of live streams here at the YouTube channel, if that's the type of thing you enjoy. For those of you who are regulars, now, super chats are welcome if you want to make sure that you're noticed as we have these conversations and everything. They're fine. But all I ask is during the podcast, we keep them kind of more on topic. When we have our regular live streams, anything goes, and that's why I love them so much. But the podcast, we try and stay a little bit more on point. But again, if you are interested in listening to these as a podcast and you're here at the YouTube channel, in the description I will put a link where you can go find us at any podcast outlet you would like. Okay, let's get started. Today we're going to run down what we are going to be talking about first, as we've done in the past. Give you guys a little bit of a heads up. Think about what your stance is on these things and how you wish to attack me from that stance. First thing we're going to be talking about is alien life. And by that, I don't mean necessarily legal aliens crossing the border. We could talk about them too. But we're talking about the little green spacemen and whether or not they exist. Then we will be talking about Kpop. And I think my take on Kpop might surprise you a little bit. We will also, this is not necessarily in order, we will be talking about impeachment and, what's going on, where it stands right now, what to expect. We will also be talking about, and I added this late because it's something, and we'll probably do this early on in the show, getting burned. Bernie Sanders, and you guys know I am not a fan. Oh, this is one of the all-time great setup hit jobs I think I've ever seen going on right now, and it involves Bernie Sanders. And finally, we'll wrap up the show today. As many of you know, I've been a practicing hypnotist for many years. I know the comeback should be, well, if you've been doing it that long, why are you still practicing? Don't you have it down yet? That voice sounded a little bit like Bob from Bob's Burgers. I got to work on that. But we'll be talking about hypnosis, common misconceptions, and any questions you have about hypnosis, I'll be happy to answer. I'm a big fan of hypnosis. So, all right, let's get going. Alien life. I am the farthest thing away from a conspiracy theorist. I'm not going to sit here and say that every conspiracy theory out there is without merit. I will say that I believe a lot of the most popular ones are without merit. So the reason I give you that backdrop is to say that I don't look for things to be out of the ordinary when it goes against common sensibilities or logic. All that said, and being someone who I don't believe in the hereafter, I don't believe that spirits walk amongst us, because that gets lumped in with space aliens a lot of times as far as beliefs. However, I think it would be ridiculously short-sighted and arrogant to think that we are the only form of life out here. And by out here, I mean in the magnificence that is the cosmos. I think it would be insanely arrogant to believe that there is no other situation similar to ours. Now, that doesn't mean that I think that whatever alien life may be out there has to look exactly like us. I don't think they have to breathe exactly like us. I don't think they have to exist exactly like us. But to think that there isn't something out there, and by life, I mean, aside from vegetation, I think there's got to be some. Wouldn't you guys agree? Now, as I speak to, I have to let you guys know, especially the listeners on the podcast, know you'll find a bit of a break or a delay in between when I ask a question and then I read answers to that question, because the one downside to live streaming on YouTube is it's not immediate. There's like a 10-second delay, whereas when we were broadcasting from our Patreon, the Goosh, it was instant. Other than that, YouTube has all the advantages, but that is the one disadvantage. Sometimes I'll ask a question, I got to wait a little bit for everyone to catch up with answers. And and our friend Wolverine says autism causes vaccines. Food poisons my chemtrails. Totally off topic, but autism causes vaccines. Actually, he's not off topic. He's talking about conspiracy theory. So Jeff says Jeff Borowiak says keep watching the skies. Yeah, I mean, am I wrong, you guys? Isn't it kind of arrogant to think that we would be the only situation where there is some form of, I don't know, can we call ourselves intelligent? Semi-intelligent life? Glenn Akers. Glenn says, aliens have to exist. The universe is too massive. That's what I'm thinking. It's theoretically infinite as it is constantly expanding. Exactly. They could just be single-cell organisms, but they are, by definition, aliens. Absolutely. And that's what I'm saying, too, Glenn. And even further than that, and I agree with you completely, that's why I've come to the conclusion that I've come to, that, again, it would be arrogance on our part to think that, well, this, in the expanse of what is this eternity, we're the only ones who managed to land on a rock just perfectly rotating around a star to create the wonderful essence that is humans. I would even take it a step further, Glenn. I think there probably are life forms out there that, again, go no further than single-cell organisms. But I have no reason to believe that there aren't more advanced forms of life as well. Don't you agree? Possibly substantially more advanced than us. I mean, if we look around at how we conduct ourselves as humans, sometimes it's not hard to believe at all that they would be more advanced than us. R.W. Bimby says aliens using a phase/dimensional technology of transport might be considered spirits, ghosts to us. I hadn't thought about that. I think wouldn't we at some point, well, I guess it would depend on to what degree the aliens make contact with us. I was going to say, at some point, wouldn't it become apparent that we were dealing with something more than, like you say, a spirit or a ghost? But I guess it would depend on the degree to which they made contact. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that if we're right and there is other forms of intelligent life out there, that it's a done deal that they're gonna make contact with us and we'll make contact with them, and we'll either sing Kumbaya together or we'll have to muster the troops and fight them off. We may obviously never meet. I'm just saying I think they got to exist. I would think. Let's see. Mr. Miles, chief engineer, says, life could be spread out, though, that it would be impossible for them to ever make contact while they exist. Exactly. You were touching upon right where I was going. And I'm not suggesting that. I'm not saying because I believe that there has to be other forms of life out there that means we'll ever encounter them in any way. Is it out of the question? No. Then I guess too, and even if it seems like as I'm reading reactions here, and from what I read online and stuff, I think a majority of people have that same basic conclusion that, yeah, there's probably something else out there. Now, the next question would be, and this one I have a firm belief that is the case, and there's other forms of life out there somewhere. This one, I'm not as strong as where I stand on it. Do you think that at any point there has been contact between humankind, and aliens. I don't I don't have anything, Area 51 aside, I don't I don't have anything that really makes me believe that that's the case. And I know a lot of people do, but I haven't been swayed. Glenn Akers says again, I totally agree. I fully believe in intelligent alien life. I'm just saying for those who say aliens aren't real, aren't thinking logically, and in my opinion. Look at my city of birth, Roswell. Glenn, I lived in Roswell, New Mexico. I was going to bring that up. I lived in Roswell, New Mexico for 4 years. I used to work when I lived in Roswell, New Mexico at the time, there was a bus manufacturing plant there where I worked. It was TMC, Transportation Manufacturing Corporation, which is a mouthful. And we used to, one of our overhead doors, I'm sorry, the factory was on the Roswell Industrial Air Center, which used to be the Air Force Base. And from what they told me down there, one of our overhead doors, when you looked out of that door, you were right into the area where supposedly the alien craft or whatever it was crashed, landed, whatever was was taken away by the government. It was interesting back then. Now, I lived there back in the late 70s and early 80s. And back then, at least, there were still a lot of people, obviously, a lot of people living there that had lived there in the time of whatever it was that occurred on that fateful day in Roswell. And it was interesting to talk to the people there because they were so matter of fact that something happened. And this were people that, I had gotten to know a little bit and certainly seemed very rational, very thoughtful people. And their whole take on it was, well, yeah, something went on because, we saw military vehicles. Some of them said they were approached by people from the military and they were told that basically nothing happened. They didn't get the weather balloon thing at the time. They said that came later. But not to worry, go back in your house, everything's fine, blah, blah, blah. So something was going on. There was a presence there. And they say that, they didn't say that looking for attention. They didn't say that in the hopes that the media would come speak to them. They just said it as friends talking and very matter of fact, and it came from a number of people. So that makes me, something went on. Again, do I believe it was aliens? I don't know about that, but something went on. Alyssa Crow says, water and oxygen are held as important, but who's to say other life forms in the universe need this to survive? Good point. I hadn't even thought about bringing that up. That's true. There could very well be life forms thriving beneath the raging storms on Jupiter. Very true. I didn't think about that. Because just because, and again, that goes back, and now I'm guilty of it. That goes back to the arrogance of being a human that immediately my thought process goes to, well, for there to be intelligent life, it has to be exactly the same type of intelligent generated life as we have here. So it had to be, this same situation with this rock circling this star. And that's a really good point. Who knows what other life forms might take and what they might need to sustain themselves. It's fascinating stuff to think about. Yeah, that's just that's the kind of stuff you can stay awake at night thinking about. For me, anyway. Giggity Goo 52 says, "What about Bob Lazar's story about Area 51?" I'm not familiar with it, but now you got me curious. Bob Lazar, I don't know Bob Lazar. I'll have to try and remember that and look that up. I'm not familiar with it. Giggity Goo. We have a lot of comments go through. I'll try and watch for yours if you could expand more on it. But Area 51, of course, has been in Nevada, but the crash or the landing site or whatever you want to call it was supposedly, obviously, in Roswell. Do you think aliens helped our technology grow faster? Obito says. Nah, I don't. Now again, key point there. You said, "Do I think? Do I think so?" No, I don't think so. I don't. There's just nothing there that's convincing, that's evidentiary enough to make me believe that aliens have had any real or any contact with us. I mean, I'd look for it. I'd love to see it. You know, I want to see I want to hang out. You know, I want to see if they like pizza. I want to see if they got a better style pizza. I don't think they will. I've told you over and over, in the Italy section of Epcot and Disney World, there's the pizza place there. I defy any alien to come here with a better pizza than that. But I would like to see what they, what they got, what they're bringing. I'm a fat boy. One of the first things I'm going to ask the aliens is, so what do you guys eat? Um, now, Vincent Lawson, this is a good point too. Everybody is walking around with a high quality video camera in their pockets nowadays. Where is all the video evidence? That's an excellent point. And this is really the first time in the history of mankind where that's really the case. Over the past, I lose track of time. When you're an old man, you lose track of time. It all blends in together. What is it, guys? That camera phones, video cameras, and well, no, let's go with video cameras on phones have been. How long would you say they've been commonplace? 10 years? I don't think more than that. So that's true. I mean, if there was any significant visitation from aliens in any way, shape, or form, that's a really good point. You think something more definitive would be caught on camera, particularly with so many vehicles having cameras on board now and everything. I'm told that's why, like in Russia, on YouTube, we'll see so many different dash cam vids come out of Russia, because I guess over there they have a real problem with insurance fraud. So the insurance companies pretty much make you have a camera on there so you can record people trying to screw you and get your insurance money. You would think there would be something more concrete over this last decade or so. Squishy Pineapple says, what if aliens are in the center of the earth? We're screwed. I would go ahead and say that. Gibber says, what if what we call aliens are time travelers or interdimensional beings? It's interesting. That would be, you know what? That's a good conversation for another time, where people with a much, much deeper knowledge of science and a much bigger brain than I own, because I am fascinated with the concept of time travel and why so many brilliant minds, some have said, what I've read, some have said it's impossible, but they can then take the next step and tell you why it's impossible. And others have said, maybe, and this is how. That'll be a conversation for another time, but I'd like to have that one. I would really like to have that conversation at some point. And thank you, Nicholas. Forgotten Light says, Cthulhu monsters in space. That would be our luck. Damn Cthulhus. Ryan Ingham says, I don't think there's been any contact with aliens directly. I agree. But there may have been indirect interactions, such as aliens look at us from space. That's what I'm wondering, Ryan. Like voyeuristic aliens, just kind of watching us and see what kind of next level douchebags we are, because we fit into that category rather comfortably. But yeah, I have no, as much as I believe that there are other life forms out there, and I think there's a real legitimate chance there are fairly significantly advanced life forms out there, I just don't think they've really made contact with us yet. Or maybe will they ever? I don't think so. R.W. Bimby is going to try and make my tiny little brain explode. If going back in time will happen, then it already has happened. That was the last brain cell dying. That's well put, Bimby. That's well put. I like that. Mr. Miles, chief engineer, again says, do you know the panspermia? Am I saying that right? Panspermia theory? Asteroid/comet impact seeding life from one planet to another. Would you consider distantly related species to be alien? That's interesting. I know I had never heard of that theory, but that I see what you're saying. That would be kind of cool. Yeah, the impact from asteroids and comments. The comments are in the comment section. And comets hitting the planet and then spreading something that it took from elsewhere in the cosmos. Would you consider distantly related species to be alien? Yeah, you'd probably right, because the key word there is distant. Wouldn't that make them alien? But that's no. I've never heard that theory before, and that's actually really interesting to me. Gigamax says, if I'm correct, the best theory for time travel is when the first time machine is activated. That will be as far back as we can go. So basically saying, I'm just taking that in. So basically saying, once we conquer time travel, that's like setting a spawn point for any of you gamers out there, and everything would have to relate back to it. I guess that would depend on how you believe time travel to be possible, would determine whether or not we could go back beyond the origination of the first time machine. This is good stuff. I enjoy this. We'll have to take this as its own topic at some point in one of the podcast streams. I did pronounce panspermia correctly. And Mr. Miles, chief engineer, as all of you regulars here know, I do have the sense of humor and sensibilities of a 12-year-old. So I was able to say panspermia without giggling, and I really wanted to giggle because sperm is in the word panspermia. It sounded to me like two pans getting together to make a sauce bowl or something. I had to say it eventually. Oh, Glenn. Now we're going back to, he was talking about Bob Lazar. Bob Lazar worked at a site outside of Area 51. He did a podcast with Joe Rogan about his time there. No detail of his story has ever changed. I will have to look that up. I would really like to hear that. And okay, so let's take that a step further. And Glenn made me think of this by bringing that up. Okay, what is in Area 51 then? Something's being protected there, right? I don't even remember. I read it and I've forgotten what the government's official stance on it is. But why is it so insanely closely guarded? If it were a live range for testing out weaponry and stuff, wouldn't that be kind of difficult to hide? Wouldn't there, I mean, with the weaponry that we have nowadays, you would think there would be all kinds of concussions to the ground, sounds. It doesn't seem like they could be conducting anything like that and doing it that quietly. So that, if nothing else, that's what piques my interest more than anything else about Area 51 is, why is it so secretive? I mean, why, as soon as somebody crosses that line, why are they're immediately confronted? We've seen that on YouTube videos. We know what goes on there. We all watch those. So something big is there. What is it? Mr. Miles says it would. I agree and disagree with this. It would be silly to have the real top secret stuff at Area 51, seeing as everyone knows about it and where it's at. On the surface, you could agree with that, Mr. Miles, but I think nowadays, particularly with unfortunately, as easy as it is for information to get leaked and the immediacy of exchange of information, I think wherever they want it, if let's just say, for instance, they have a crashed spaceship and they have some alien bodies or something, wherever they move them to, at some point, rumors will get out saying, okay, it's here, it's there, it's moved here, it's there. I think. So to me, I think it's just a case of, okay, if we did have this, we're going to put it in this spot. In this case, let's say it's Area 51, and we're just not letting anybody in. That's it. Because we're not going to play this game. We're not going to keep moving it around. You can think what you want to think, but you're not going to get in here and ever verify it. That's what I think is more likely the case. I just, again, not being convinced in any way, shape, or form that is aliens or alien related. What do they have there? That's what I really want to know. They definitely have a new base for all the crazy stuff. Forgotten Light says that could be too. That's true too. We have to look at it from that perspective. There could be another base of some sort out there, and the word hasn't gotten out on that one yet. Let's see. Okay, guys, that's we might revisit that again sometime. I want to keep the topics moving this time because I want to make sure we do get to all of them. That's you guys gave me some really interesting stuff to work with there. I do want to look at that. I do want to listen to that podcast. I typically hear things with my eyes, so yeah, I've got issues. Let's move right along. The next thing I want to talk about, and this just came to me yesterday, and it was just such a stroke of sinister brilliance that I felt like we had to talk about it today. Now, let me preface this by saying, for those of you who don't know, I am not a supporter of Bernie Sanders. I am not a supporter of any type of socialism in any way. So I don't support him, don't care for him. And the only reason I put that out there is in telling the story. I just want to be fair about where I stand on it. Before we move into that, Alyssa says you could be an alien yourself, Curtis. That the real you is out in space with a harem of hot alien females that look like Bowman Police Girl. I wouldn't be that lucky, Alyssa. If I was an alien, I wouldn't get anything cool like, hot looking anime chicks with me. I'd get porgs or something like that. But now going back to Bernie, for those of you, and I hope we have some of you in here, because by you I mean Bernie supporters, I would love to hear what you guys think of this. Bernie Sanders, and again, I have no love for Bernie Sanders, but him and his supporters are getting the royalist screw job I've ever seen. Now, for those of you who are wrestling fans, we all talk about the Montreal screw job and how sinister that was and how conniving. That's nothing compared to what's being done to Bernie and his supporters. Now, catch this. For over a year, we've seen the hashtag vote blue no matter who all over social media, from obviously the left, from the Democrats, saying, and in theory, it's very sound. Anybody but Trump, basically. So in the election, that what they've been driving home, pushing it over and over and over, no matter who, support your nominee, but no matter who it is, vote for that person over Donald Trump. That's solid. I mean, again, I'm somebody who leans right. However, I get that. That's a strong strategy. You want Trump out. Now, as we're within a couple of days of the conventions, of the Democratic conventions, thanks for reading non-super. Oh, I read them all, Mr. Martin. Well, thank you, but I'll read everything. I just like to know what you guys have to say. Within a couple of days of them starting their primaries, I'm sorry, not conventions. All of a sudden, the rules, the DNC, the Democratic National Committee's rules for the debates drastically change because Mike Bloomberg wants to get on stage and be part of the debates. They have said all along, and I think it's a perfectly legitimate qualification that you have X number of people having donated to your campaign to prove that you have enough public support to be worthy of a spot on stage. That's been across the board. People have been left out because they didn't have that support. And now as they move forward, all of a sudden, yeah, come on in. Mikey, you're one of the boys. You got lots and lots of money, and that's cool. Why don't you step on board? Now, if you don't think that having Bloomberg involved doesn't help to hurt Bernie's chances, you're crazy. Now let's go again. Within these last few days, now all of a sudden, Hillary Clinton, who is the face of the DNC, comes out and starts railing against Bernie. Okay? He's unlikable. Nobody likes him. Blah, 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 blah. Whether or not he could win against Trump, so on and so forth. This is all within a few days of the start of the actual votes being cast. So what they've put in place is vote blue no matter who. So when we come and get you, Bernie, and we get you the hell out of this consideration for this nomination again, your supporters have already been conditioned that if they don't get out there and vote for whoever we designate as the nominee, then they're supporting Trump. They have leveraged this perfectly. This is so sinister. Yeah, I'm not going to read that one, Wolverine. This is so sinister on so many levels. And the thing is, could Bernie still win, even with the DNC obviously out there to try and stop him? Sure he could. it's going to be much more difficult, and I don't think it'll happen. I don't think Bernie will have enough of a lead in key states to overcome what they're going to do and their whole superdelegate situation and everything. But they look at how they've put this together. Vote blue no matter who. Okay, we've got that in place. Now phase 2, the votes are going to start being cast. Hammer Bernie. Get Bernie the hell out of there. Because now his supporters are locked into having vote for whoever we trot out there. Now, let me ask you something else, Bernie supporters. If Bernie does get the nomination, if in the face of all this, he can go ahead and win the nomination, do you think the DNC and all their influence sticks with the vote blue no matter who? Do they come out in force for him? Or do they run somebody of their own anyway as an independent, making it seem like they had nothing to do with it? Why the DNC doesn't like Bernie is obvious, and it's understandable. He's not a Democrat. He isn't. He's an independent. He doesn't have he has no real connection to the DNC whatsoever. So that's understandable. But they have leveraged the ultimate screw job. The Bernie supporters think he got railroaded in 2016. That seems to be nothing compared to what they're doing to him here. And they're doing it right in front of everybody. And they're trying to do it in a way so that the Bernie supporters say, well, Bernie didn't win, thank you, but we're going to vote for your candidate because, gosh darn it, Orange Man bad. That's exactly what they set up. They went with the Orange Man bad setup to screw Bernie again. Chrome says, oh, they won't let Bernie win. The DNC is rigged as hell. I agree. Bernie cucked for them last time. They cheated him. He'll do it again without question. He'll bow to Hillary too. You think so, Chrome? You think he'll just go ahead? Bernie may not. I mean, we all know Bernie came up with House number 3 shortly after after the last election run. I don't think he needs 4. You might be right. He may not, but it's his supporters. It's his supporters that are getting the screw job there. I'm just curious. I'm scrolling through. I want to see what people are saying, and I want to see if you're a Bernie supporter. Let me know. I'd really like to know what Bernie supporters think about this. Flame Enforcer says if Biden wins, Trump is going to brutally destroy him on stage. Trump's got an advantage in a debate for one reason. We all know what Trump is. We all know he's a jerk and kind of a buffoon. So that he's not held to a higher standard like whoever his opponent is. And that's tough. Whoever ends up debating him because of Trump's established douchebaggery is actually at a disadvantage. And with knowing how prone, if there's anybody more prone to gaffes and missteps than Donald Trump, it's Joe Biden. So you're right. That could be very bad for him. Broward, RW Bimby says, Broward, Florida already started counting found 2020 ballot boxes. Mr. Miles says they support Trump behind the scenes. They'd rather lose with Trump than win with Bernie. I think there at some level, I won't say that across the board for the DNC, but I think at some level you're correct. And it's just wow. And again, I have no love for Bernie. Don't want him in any way, shape, or form. But wow, is he getting screwed? Bernie is good and consistent, but I like Yang. Hadu said, yeah, Yang. I think it's too late for him. Hadu. We'll see. We'll find out tomorrow. But if he doesn't have, Yang would have to have a huge showing in the first couple primaries, or I think he's done. I mean, it's going to have to be really substantial. We'll see. Stranger things have happened. I don't think it's going to. I think he's going to finish 4th or 5th, and I don't think that's going to be strong enough. Let's see. I'm just trying to find some more comments on Bernie. Expert Gamer says the truth is Bernie Sanders has never won a real election. The previous senator was an independent that passed away, and he took advantage of that and ran as an independent. That's interesting. I didn't remember that, Expert Gamer. I did not remember that. Again, I'm not a fan of Bernie at all. As a matter of fact, there is nobody running for president right now that I would prefer over Bernie. But that's not what this is about. It's just I can't believe that they have put his supporters in such a no-win situation, and they've had it's brilliant on the DNC's part. It was a brilliant strategy, but man, does it suck if you're a Bernie supporter. So what do you do? What do you, what do you do if? Oh, I'm going to come to that in just a second, Flaming Force. So I'm glad you brought that up. So what do you do if you're a Bernie supporter and he doesn't get the nomination? Do you vote blue no matter who? Probably, right? Because again, it's still the orange man bad thing. But how bad a taste does that have to leave in your mouth? Knowing that the person you supported, this is the organization that made sure he wouldn't get a nomination, but now they want you to vote for their nominee. And Flame Enforcer says, how about that hidden Iowa poll? Was it the Des Moines Register, right, Flame? They did the polling for their final poll going into Monday, into the voting Monday, and they didn't release it because apparently at least one pollster left a crucial name off the ballot of the candidates, and they're afraid that it tainted the whole thing. It's kind of weird, isn't it? Wouldn't it have made more sense to go ahead and post it with a big large print disclaimer saying, okay, this is what happened, so and so was left off, who he was, I was gonna say he or she, yeah, because we still have females in the field. He or she was left off of this percent or possibly up to this percent of ballots. Please bear that in mind when seeing the poll, because so many people, so many Democrats especially, were waiting for that poll. That poll, every election cycle, that's like the biggie, the one right before the election. And that was really, I don't know, that seems kind of funny, doesn't it? A lot of people are saying, I don't know if there's a conspiracy there, but a lot of people are saying, well, they didn't like the results of the poll, so they kept it in. I tend to believe, I think they're probably telling the truth, that one of the pollsters went rogue, either made a mistake or went rogue. But to me, it would have made more sense to post the poll with that addendum of information explaining what happened. I don't know. That's weird. Mr. Miles says, I am a Bernie supporter. Awesome. What happened in 2016 jaded a lot of us, and we saw it coming this time. We're upset, of course, but it wasn't unexpected. Right, but look at the levels they went to, though, Mr. Miles. And again, I'm asking you because I'm not a Bernie supporter. I would be livid. So where does that leave you guys if they take the nomination away from him again? Because this is not a coincidence. This vote blue no matter who has been pushed as a hashtag, has been pushed as a line of thinking, as the official line of thinking for anybody on the Democratic side, saying we just got to get Trump out of there. And then you push that for all this time, and now all this shit starts to fall into place just days before the first primary? Really? And as a Bernie supporter, even if he gets the nomination, do you think the DNC will stand firm behind that vote blue no matter who? I'm really curious. I would love to know what Bernie supporters think of that. Excuse me. Yeah. RW Bimby, you're so right. DNC cheat. Change rule to let billions blue me in. And what gets me to, wait a second, and this is what got me. Isn't the Democratic Party the party of anti-billionaire? Am I missing something here? And you basically just let this guy, if there was anybody I would I like less than Bernie as far as, and again, I don't want this to sound like personal, like I want to punch Bernie Sanders in the face. I mean, politically, if there's anybody I like less in the field than Bernie, or almost as much I dislike, almost as much I dislike Bernie, it's Bloomberg. So now the left, who is against billionaires, who, all of them try and distance themselves from these billionaires and their money, and they're going to take away the tax breaks that the Republicans give. That's fine if that's your platitude. But then you get a billionaire who comes into the game way late and change this very, very important rule that has kept others out of the debates for him. Oh man, I'd be pissed if I was a Bernie supporter. Oh, Glenn is a Bernie supporter. As a Bernie supporter, I'll do what I did last time. I'll write down my own name as a write-in. Well, that's what I'm thinking, Glenn. I'm thinking that's going to happen to a lot of people. It's got to be a tough pill to swallow. Hosky says, I'm voting blue no matter what. Anything is better than Trump. But are you a Bernie supporter, Hosky? I mean, not that, again, I'm not, that's not to demean you or anything. I don't mean that. I'm just trying to find out from the Bernie supporters, because they're the ones that are being put on the spot here. Wolverine says, read last post. We can't do a lot of this during the podcast, guys. We kind of got to keep the conversation moving. Okay, you can just... Okay, let me see if I can find this last post, guys. I apologize. These are things that we typically do during live streams. You know, somebody will come up, put up a super chat saying, "Oh, you missed something I wanted you to see." I try not to do that during. I'm not seeing it. Let's see. With one of Zoro's swords I bought online. Yeah, it's a little off topic, Wolverine. A little out there for what we're talking about. Expert Gamer says Hillary Clinton's popularity was higher simply because of the position she was put in the Obama administration, not to mention that there was a whole push for the first woman president. Yeah, that's true. That's true. And Hillary Clinton had been, you know, aside from man, woman, or anything, had been groomed to become president for many, many years. This has been the grooming. It was supposed to be her coming out party, the eventuality that was always supposed to be. Chrome, this is, and you're touching on why I just can't stand Bloomberg. Billionaire that wants to dictate what you can eat and drink. Guy who stated the poor are too stupid to choose what they can do with their money. That's, I'm with you, Chrome. That's why I don't like Bloomberg at all. I think he is the most intrusive into your everyday life candidate I've ever seen running for president. And you guys know that runs completely against anything that I believe. Hold on here. I'm still looking. I'll try it really quick. Apparently, I'm still looking for a past post here. I apologize for the delay here. I am not seeing it. Let's see. Yeah, I didn't see where I went by another post. Okay. PC Format says the only salvation for America is all Trump, and at 2 terms he is the stand against globalization that George Soros wants to put in the world with the United States Democratic Party. And you'll have a lot of people that see. I'm going to vote for Trump because I've seen the entire Democratic field now, and there's nobody on the Democrat side whose platitudes, whose platforms will align as with my own personal beliefs as do Trump's. Bimby says socialism works once people are put on wall and shot. See, I think socialism is just a horrific rabbit hole you go down, because again, even things like Medicare for all. First of all, and we'll save this for another time to go in depth. I've gone in depth with it before with you guys. I don't just say this, I have reasons to believe this. It's going to cost so much more, so insanely much more than Bernie is willing to acquiesce. And it's going to be crippling. To put in everything he wants to make for quote unquote free would absolutely cripple households. When you start paying for everybody else's health insurance, their college, paying off all their student loans and everything else he wants to do, a lot of people won't put food on the table. And that's why socialism ends up in violent upheaval so many times throughout history. Daniel Kelly says, Bernie the magic money in the sky man. And that's why I'm not a fan, Daniel. That's exactly why Expert Gamer says, Medicare for all is going to give us yet another massive debt. That's what I believe. Well, again, what always amazes me when we talk about Medicare for all, or socialism, I should say, the socialists will want to point out to you, well, you already got these social programs, but most of them are garbage, and I've explained why they're garbage. They're not socialist programs, they're social programs. But the one they like to point to is the train of thought just left me. That's awful. Social Security. Why would you point to that? That's the absolute living proof that the government should not be allowed to redistribute our money. They've completely screwed up the Social Security system. With all the boomers having worked all the years we have in the workforce, there should be plenty of money in there. But there isn't, because the government didn't take care of it. They allowed special interests to take from it for years and years and years. That is the exact reason why you don't let government redistribute your money, because of Social Security. Chrome says, I'm doubtful if Bernie would even survive as president. He's not exactly the most physically fit person. It'd be a one-termer. DNC doesn't want that. That's true too, Chrome. And that's why I think if Bernie ever got the nomination, I can't remember a time in my lifetime where the nominee's pick for vice president would be more important than for Bernie, because of the age, because of the recent heart attack, things of that nature. All right, I think we covered that. Again, this is, I just have such a good time talking about all this stuff with you guys. I want to talk to you guys about K-pop. What do you guys think about K-pop? For any of you who don't know, that's Korean pop music. It's very hot right now. It's big. And the reason this came up is K-pop stans, which, again, everybody's not well versed in what's going on the internet, on the interwebs, and on social media, and so forth. K-pop stans are the fans of these K-pop groups. They're bubblegum bands. You know, it's nothing new. I said K-pop itself, I find it silly. It's nothing I would ever listen to. I find it kind of goofy. However, every generation has their goofy genre of music. We all did. When I was a kid, you know, the Beatles became a big thing, so we had to have the Monkees. Well, the Monkees were ridiculous. I mean, it was just so much fluff, and they gave them their TV show, and all the girls swooned for them. So every generation has had that. If that's what you want to listen to, well, thank you. Andrew Wilson says Curtis Candy 2020. If that's what you want to listen to, have a good time. The problem is these K-pop stans like to go online in Twitter and in any social media and post their concert video footage. These clips that they take of these K-pop groups on stage, and they will do anything they can to get those things views. So they will post them on popular threads. They will start a thread with them and use unrelated keywords that are hot right at the moment to get views to their stupid fan cams. And what's most obnoxious is they will take, even in a tragedy where someone has passed or something horrible has happened, they will pop up their fan cams in there because they know those are hot button items at the time, and it'll get them extra views on their fan cam, because for some reason that makes these idiot kids feel maybe they are just valueless in general, and somehow that makes them feel like they have some value. No, different types of stands than in JoJo Wolverine. And stands, anyway, not stands. But I don't know. That's what I'm going with. To me, I think, even if you're a younger person, if you need to try and get views on your fan cam to the expense of interrupting conversation where people are exchanging condolences over the loss of life, or are trying to build support for what is the Australian fires or whatever it may be, and you want to stick your fan cam in the middle of that, I think you're an obnoxious person who has no value. That's what I think. And the reason I bring K-pop up is I've come to, just on the internet, know a few K-pop fans, and I almost feel bad for them because they're fans, not stans, and they enjoy the music, and now they all get lumped into what these idiots are doing. And that's unfortunate because, again, as silly as K-pop is, hey, if that's what you want to listen to, have a good time. And it's too bad that the true fans get lumped in with these absolute jagoffs. So I guess the whole thing I'm trying to say here is, if you're online, and I know a lot of us can't stand these moron K-pop stans, it is worth the extra effort to differentiate, though, between the ones who are legitimate fans and just want to share that fandom in appropriate areas with other fans, and these idiots who come out with their fan cams everywhere. And Tyson says, Tyson Arkan says, K-pop is a good genre, but the fan base is terrible. And that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. And there's a large part of that fan base that seems to be that way, Tyson. And it's too bad for those that aren't, that really do just genuinely like the music, like the bands, even if it's young girls who just think the guys are cute, whatever, who cares why, that just want to like it and enjoy it, and they get caught up in the crossfire of hate too. Big Green says, yeah, like I said, I'm fine with the music and the fans, but the stands are some of the worst on the internet. Absolute, I mean, garbage. And I see people trying to explain away, well, they're young. No, come on. They know damn well what they're doing. They're old enough to be on the internet. They're old enough to have their fan cam. They know what they're doing. They're trying to get views on their fan cam, and they don't care about anybody else or any conversation that may be going on, or the fact that people might genuinely be trying to, one of those rare occasions where people are trying to use the internet as something helpful for one another and give each other a shoulder to cry on, and you got these idiots with their fan cams in there. I think they're garbage. Anybody who does that is just garbage as far as I'm concerned. Smokey Loki says, let's have the Monkees become a K-pop band. They were basically like the K-pop of my childhood era, Loki. they, a couple of the members, I think, were decent musicians. And then the other two were just, Davy Jones was just somebody they found in a restaurant somewhere or something. I don't remember all of it, but it was bad. But every generation has had it. Every generation has their bubblegum music, their superfluous, silly music. And K-pop falls into that category. But those K-pop stands, yeah, I don't like them. Chrome says, lack of perspective, really. They're the same type of people who worship Twilight and have a herd mentality. Stupid kids that will hopefully grow up, maybe, but narcissism's strong today. So, good point. Narcissism is strong today. It's funny. I wanted my son, my children, to do better than I did, and I go over the top trying to take care of that and provide for that. But some people, it seems, have just gone too far to where when you start praising somebody for everything, and you tell someone every day how great they're doing at this, how great they're doing at that, when maybe they're really just doing average, I don't think you're helping them. I've always said that, well, with the trophies for all, I don't have a problem with everybody gets a trophy. As long as after everybody gets their trophy on that, whatever, baseball team, soccer team, football team, as long as everybody gets their trophy and has something to remember the season by, you then go on and give trophies to those who excelled. A most valuable player, best fielder, best defense, whatever the case may be. Providing a reward for exceptionalism is not wrong. And if you didn't get that award and it hurts your little feelings, your option is to go out and get better so next time you can get that award. Not stop giving it to the people who deserve it. You go get better. And if you don't, that's life. Sometimes, hell, from the time I was little, I loved horse racing. By the time I was 12, I weighed, close to 200 pounds. I wasn't going to be a jockey. There are some things in life you're just not meant to do. And Chase says testicles. Let's see. Maz says, I was beyond pissed. This is Mazmaker. I was beyond pissed when one of the invited speakers at my school started his talk about bullying by promoting his Instagram, so no sympathy for asshats to promote K-pop shit in a similar way. Yeah, I mean, it infuriates me just that people are that pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. Flame of Forester says, Chris, what's your favorite dairy type? I'm not sure what you're meaning there, Flame. I'm not sure what you're asking. PC Format says, socialism is a good idea, but badly implemented from the fascist to the communist one. PC Format, I just don't even like it as an ideal. I don't like the concept of government being a redistributor of funds, and that's what socialism is at its core. And it's just not for me. It's just not what I like. All right, I'm saying too much. That annoys me when I do that. We got two more topics to cover, and I want to make sure we get them both in. Update on the impeachment. The impeachment process is going exactly like everybody and anybody could have predicted from the start. The House had no trouble impeaching him. They weren't able to bring any Republicans on board, and even lost a few Democrats in the vote. Now it looks like early this week, the Senate will vote to acquit him, and this is what we all knew would happen from the start. The Democrats can complain all they want about not getting to call witnesses. And that falls a little flat because you could have called witnesses. You just had to go through the courts. And some of those witnesses that you wanted and were blocked or wouldn't show said, and all of them would have to take it through the courts, prove that, that the courts say that we need to appear, and we will. And the Democrats could have done that, but they didn't want to take the time. They didn't want to stretch it out that far. So it's a little disingenuous to go all batshit crazy because the Senate wouldn't call witnesses when you didn't take all the process you needed to go through witnesses. Now, is it wrong for the president to have blocked them? You can make that case, sure. But get the witnesses up there anyway. That's all the more reason to take the time to do it. So basically, it's all going to come out exactly how we figured. The big question at the beginning of it was, who is going to get hurt by this? The Republicans or the Democrats by this whole, if it unfolds the way we think it is, and it's going to, who gets hurt by it? I don't think either. I think everybody got so entrenched that it's not going to make a rat's ass bit of difference. And by next week, I don't think it'll matter to anybody. That's also borne out by all the polls when people are asked what's important to them in the upcoming election. The impeachment thing is not even a blip on the radar for a majority of people. They went after him for one thing. The Dems went after him for the wrong thing. Not enough people give a damn if he was going to withhold some money from the Ukraine to try and get dirt on Biden. They just don't care. Smokey Loki says, Dr. Phil said it best in a Joe Rogan podcast. Find your lane. I agree with that. Basically, find what you're good at and accept that there are things you weren't meant to do. I completely agree with that. I completely agree with that. And I've always said, to take it even a step further, there's nothing wrong with having a dream. You should chase that dream for as long as you can until it's proven that you can't achieve it. And then if you find out you can't achieve it, you didn't fail. You had a lifetime of hope. You had a lifetime of chasing a dream. That's great. Just because you didn't make it in the end doesn't say anything negative about you as a person. Just means you gave your all, and that wasn't what you were supposed to be. There's no shame in that. There's no dishonor in that. While there's disappointment, there shouldn't even be prolonged sadness in that. You gave it a hell of a shot. I've always believed that. Glenn says, my main view on this is, imagine not being allowed to bring witnesses for a bank robbery or murder. If there was a crime, witnesses must be allowed. Okay, but it's not as cut and dried as that, Glenn. As I pointed out, you could have called witnesses. Once the House voted to impeach him, they are supposed to have a strong case to move to the Senate. So why, if they had this strong case, why do they need further witnesses? They called, 17, 18 of their own witnesses. I understand they wanted more. There was an avenue to get them. You're supposed to, as the House, you're supposed to package that. That's your defense against this. If you have all the information, all the witness testimony you need, when you bring it forward, you wouldn't even had to worry about the Senate calling witnesses. You would have had everybody you wanted. Now, again, is it wrong for them to block the witnesses? It may be, but it's something that they can do. And everybody knew it going in. You need to get all the information you need, everything as a part of the record that you need to be part of the record to make your case strong before you send it to the Senate. Nobody truly fails if they give it their all, Andrew says. I've always believed that. You know, from the time I was little, I wanted to be a professional. I wanted to be a Major League Baseball player. I was a good ball player. Wasn't that good. You came to terms with it. Let's see. They couldn't get Bolton at the time. Bolton threatened to sue. Right, Jeremiah. But then, again, if they would have gone through the courts, they could have gotten Bolton there. If they would have gone through the courts and the court said he has to honor this subpoena, they could have gotten anybody they wanted there. And they knew it. They had to take it through the courts because the administration was blocking people. So do it. Don't send over a half-assed conviction or impeachment and hope that the guys where the majority are not on your side are going to finish it off for you. Finish it off yourself, then send it. Let's see. Chrome says the House didn't have further witnesses ready because they wanted to use this BS to make Trump look bad. That could be true, and to a lot of people, that's how it looks. Make it seem like he's obstructing the people who don't know how this works. public perception on any issue, you're right, Chrome, is a big part of it. And I think a majority of people, I don't think it's a huge majority, but I would say the majority of people in America are not deeply into politics, they're peripherally involved. So it's easy to get something like, just like what you're saying, to however something appears is how a lot of people are willing to accept that is the case. Well, thank you, Glenn, for being in with us. I appreciate that. Let's see. They were trying to call witnesses while the trial was going on, Maz says. They should have had all other witnesses before this whole thing began. So either they never had witnesses or they fucked up big. Yeah, Maz, I mean, you in the House, you don't send over those articles of impeachment without having your absolute strongest case been proven, or having your absolute strongest case presented. And if you needed more witnesses to do that and they were blocking you, take them to court and get those witnesses in there. But they didn't want to drag it out. They knew that the public didn't want them to drag it out. People were already getting weary of the whole thing. They knew that people needed to be out politicking. They had to get out there in and amongst the people getting ready for the elections in 2020. They didn't want to drag it out. You brought your articles of impeachment without all the information you wanted in there, and then you want the guys who are on the other side to finish it off for you. You can't be surprised that it didn't happen. Do you think the Democrats will be hurt by this during the election? Chrome says, no. I don't think either side gets hurt, Chrome. I really don't. And I thought, when it all started, I thought, okay, this is going to be bad for somebody. And I wasn't even sure who. But it was going to be bad for somebody. But the way it fleshed out, no, I don't think anybody gets hurt. I don't think it's a big... You have the hard right and the hard left who were all invested in this. Outside of that, people just didn't care enough. I don't think come November, it's going to be a blip on anybody's radar. All the people who said, all the people by then who are saying, well, I can't vote for Trump. He blocked witnesses into his own impeachment trial were people that were never going to vote for Trump anyway. It's just is what it is. I don't think it's going to move the needle at all as far as the election. I really don't. Maz says, every single impeachment trial before this has been handled by a third party, so why the fuck did the Dems take it on themselves to do it themselves? Smells like a bunch of BS to me. There's a lot of questions about, though. I mean, it was handled poorly on both sides. That's not surprising the way things go anymore. But that's why I say, I think when all is said and done, and all will be said and done early this week, it's not gonna move the needle for anybody. I really don't think so. Okay, fine, let's get on to our final topic of the day. For any of you who don't know, I've been, again, a practicing hypnotist for a lot of years. I first got interested, I've always been interested in hypnosis. I've always been interested in the psychology of the mind. And back when I used to do stand-up comedy for a living, when I was traveling doing comedy, there was a magician who, him and I crossed paths a lot of time at clubs, and he did hypnosis as well, which was a good thing because he was a crappy magician. And so I picked his brain. I just wanted to know how inductions work. Well, he taught me how to induct people, but that's all he knew how to do. He didn't even know why it was working. He just basically knew what to say to get people in that hypnotic state. And back then there wasn't an awful lot of information out there available to you on hypnosis. So it's been like a many decade thing for me, a journey of discovery, trying to learn exactly why and how hypnosis works. And of course now, with major universities having done extensive studies on hypnosis, we have a much better understanding of how it works and why it works. But for so long, it was just trial and error. I tried to try and figure things out for myself just by observing the people that I had hypnotized. But basically, hypnosis is simply the process of allowing your subconscious mind to come front and center while your conscious mind kind of sits in the background and goes, cool, let's see what happens here. Because the subconscious mind, the reason hypnotic suggestion works, when you're in that hypnotic state, the subconscious mind is not analytical. It doesn't question things. It doesn't concern itself with any external factors. It's just willing to do what you say, kind of. So you put someone in the hypnotic state. It's not actually sleep, but it's the best descriptor for it. It's what looks like sleep. And when that subconscious mind is forefront, if I tell a hypnosis subject that every time you hear the word Pepsi, quack like a duck, they'll go, okay. When I hear Pepsi, I'll quack like a duck, and they'll do it because, again, the subconscious mind doesn't care. It's like, oh, that's cool. Now, where the conscious mind still comes into it is if I say, okay, take that pen and stab the person next to you in the neck with it, as long as that is, excuse me, something you would find morally reprehensible, the conscious mind will step up because it doesn't go away. It sits in the background and goes, no, we're not going to do that. Subconscious. I mean, you like to take suggestions. We're not taking that one. Stop that shit. So that's basically what happens. That's why you won't give away deep dark secrets or anything like that while you're under hypnosis. And that's a simplified version of how it all works. But because I get so many questions about hypnosis all the time, this is an opportunity. If any of you have any questions about hypnosis, how it works, why it works, hit me with them here. We'll cover them before we wrap this one up. And the reason, I should point out too, now that I've explained that, why clinical hypnosis is able to work. For instance, say you want to stop smoking. Why that works is when you give somebody a suggestion to their subconscious, you got to get to know them first, understand exactly why they're in the situation they're in, why they want to stop smoking, so on and so forth, how they started. You can give them suggestions so that their subconscious no longer craves the cigarette or doesn't recognize the same circumstances that make them want a cigarette. And it sticks only because the conscious mind is in agreement that they don't want to smoke. That's why you can't force it. You can't come in to try and quit smoking. You can't go to a hypnotist because your significant other told you to. She or he's just on my ass all the time. I got to quit smoking. So come on, make me quit. It won't work. You have to want to, because otherwise all the suggestions I give your subconscious, your conscious mind is going to veto them all because you don't want to stop. You actually want to keep smoking. So that's why it won't take unless you really want to do it. Tom says, I'm already drunk now. I'm about to get hypnotized. Tom, I always mention that over the years of having this channel and the YouTube channel, for those of you who don't know, started, we're going on 9 years ago, 8.5 years ago. Some of the best posts I've seen in comment section in live streams have been those that self-identified as either drunk or high. We've had some great ones. Big Green says, I used to think hypnosis was just putting somebody to sleep while having a yo-yo in front of their face. Well, yo-yo will work. Anything that you can concentrate on. It's just that focal point is what helps you to allow to get into that point of laser-guided relaxation, which is all that hypnosis is. Ma says, I'll be working in the mental health / drug rehab field next year, so hypnosis does interest me when it comes to using it in those fields. Hell, they already use unscientific stuff just to relax people. And that's the cool thing, Maz, too. Now, with a lot of the studies that have been done, we understand that there is a significant scientific phenomena that happens during hypnosis because of the people that are way smarter than me that hooked subjects up to electronic equipment and could see exactly what the brain goes through under hypnosis. It's really made being a hypnotist that much more interesting for me, because they explained to me a lot of the things I had been seeing for years but couldn't understand why they happened. Smokey Loki says, I'll now perform my own hypnosis on Curtis /chat, inhales deeply. Naked Nami, Nico Robin, Boa Hancock, Sarah Victoria, Bubble Bath, Fried Chicken Fun Time. Well, that's what, and for those of you who don't know, listen on the podcast, we're all here at the channel. I am a huge anime nerd myself. Most of our crew is wildly into anime, and those are some of the most attractive, bodacious women of anime he listed there, as well as Fried Chicken and Bubble Baths. So yes, that would be hypnotic to many of us. If the naked Nami, Nico Robin, etc. time is something that would absolutely get me into a state where the subconscious mind was willing to take over from the conscious mind. Let's see. Chrome says, kind of curious, have you seen any mainline series on TV or film that does hypnosis accurately? Yes, but it's rare, Chrome. And I can't remember. My wife was actually watching the show. She enjoys all the crime dramas. And it was one of those. And they brought up hypnosis as part of the storyline. And I was like, here we go again. And I get so annoyed with the way hypnosis is is reflected in media. But they actually, and I couldn't tell you what it was. If it was NCIS, Law and Order, SVU, one of those shows she watched. But it was the first time I had seen hypnosis being represented as exactly what it was and what I described to you. It's not something mythical. It's not something mystical. It's not achieving a higher level of consciousness. It's a simple but very powerful function of the brain that we all have access to. And it can help you in your day-to-day life in a lot of ways, and it's all natural and organic. But yes, I couldn't tell you exactly what show it was, but it only stuck out in my mind because those scenes of the hypnosis were done really well, and I was shocked to see that. R.W. Bimby says, is Trump derangement syndrome a form of suggestion? Actually, as much as I know you're joking somewhat, but sure, anything like that is, where you have people that just absolutely freak out at the thought or the visualization of Donald Trump. It is in the respect that when they get into their echo chamber in social media or whatever, and they read over and over and over, Orange Man bad, Orange Man bad, Orange Man bad. When you read that over and over, yeah, it is a form of suggestion to your subconscious. Absolutely. It actually is. Roberto says, would hypnosis be your stand power, Curtis? Stands are special abilities that people possess in an anime we all enjoy called JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. No, the only reason I say that is I'm already a hypnotist. If I was going to have that kind of power, I want something way cooler. I want something, where I can I can blast mountains and shit. Mr. Miles says, I smoked for a long time. I quit in 2015, though. I don't think hypnotic suggestion could have helped me much, but I never tried. It works differently for different people. If you're seeing a good hypnotist, the first thing they're going to know, Mr. Miles, is they're going to... That's why I'm not a supporter of, and you guys probably have seen it as well, you'll see these hypnotists come in and they do house shows. They get a whole bunch of people, they have a big forum, get everybody in one room, and now this is the group I'm going to help with smoking cessation. This is the group I'm going to help with weight loss control. Oh yeah, and while you're at it, you might want to buy these supplements from me too because they'll help. It's carnival act. Not that the hypnosis isn't real, but to actually try and clinically assist someone, you need to know more about them as an individual. At least I do, to do it effectively. You need to know how they got started smoking. You need to know if there are specific times of the day they find themselves smoking more often than others. You need to know, hey, do you find out when you're stressed? Do you think you smoke more than you? This is all comes out in the interview first, so you can tailor the suggestions to fit the individual. So could it have helped you? It could. The way I always put that, Mr. Miles, is it can't hurt you. There's no side effects to hypnosis, so it doesn't hurt anything to give it a try. Let's see. Hypnotism, self-hypnosis is very similar to meditation, Mr. Miles. It's very similar. They're basically the same thing. The biggest difference being a lot of times with meditation, people, and I don't want to shit on anybody, but a lot of times those who are big proponents of meditation, again, talk more cosmically about achieving another level of consciousness. And even some hypnotists still try and keep that magical element to it. It's not the case at all. It's a very, very real ability we all have, and it's very, very powerful. But in its essence, self-hypnosis and meditation are virtually the same thing. Just if you have a good hypnotist teaching you how to do it, they're very good at teaching you how to use it to improve your life experience, put it that way. Let's see. Achieving Nirvana, Big Green says, oh, okay, I didn't catch what. Well, you can, and hypnosis, that's one of the things, and Big Green says achieving Nirvana, I don't even know if this is directed at me, but hypnosis and self-hypnosis, doing it yourself, that's one of the things that's really great at is when you're feeling down, when you're feeling defeated. When you get good at self-hypnosis, you can take yourself, you can deliver yourself in your mind to a whole different area that is basically your own nirvana, your own happy place, for lack of a better term. And it's amazing how calming and how rectifying that can be. How do you put someone in a hypnotic state? Oink says, or Oink Trinolf. It's a state of laser focused relaxation. That's a good question, actually. The whole process of the induction is to get you to focus on nothing but relaxing. And what that does is that's how the subconscious mind takes over from the conscious mind. They will tell you, and this is stuff that science has backed up, for every hour that you're in a hypnotic state, it's similar to getting like 3 to 5 hours of regular sleep, because hypnosis lets you focus entirely on relaxation. You are out, just gone as far as your mind functions. You're focused on relaxation and nothing else. You're not having the events of the day. You're not having, how am I going to pay the bills at the end of the month? You don't have, man, I am not ready for that test tomorrow at school. None of that exists. And it does under normal sleep. Those are the things that torture you. Under hypnosis, nope. Laser focus, nothing else gets in. It's just about relaxation. So it's extremely refreshing and relaxing. I took a few years of traditional Japanese martial arts, Mr. Miles says, and they were big on meditation. Yes, not in a mythical way, just a self-improvement way, and it really does do wonders. And that's exactly what self-hypnosis is. Exactly, that type of meditation. It's clearing your mind. Meditation is allowing your subconscious to take over from your conscious mind. And typically in martial arts, a lot of times it's guided hypnosis or guided meditation. They'll get you in that hypnotic state and then help guide you towards utilizing that state to make some improvements in your life, if only to allow you to relax and focus. Let's see. Maz says, personally, as someone who has quit smoking for long periods of time, I've noticed that as long as I keep my mind occupied, the jitters do not affect me as much. Hypnosis could do something similar. Yes, absolutely. Hypnosis is very good about that. Hypnosis is very good, again, because you're accessing the subconscious, of getting you away from those day-to-day trials and tribulations. Letting you get past them for a little, even if it's only for a little while, and get you focused on just calming, relaxing, and that just overall makes you feel better. Okay, well, I think that's it for today. Guys, thank you so much for all the conversation. Thank you to those of you who are listening to this on the podcast. We will start putting up a regular time frame for our podcast episodes. We're still getting our feet wet in all this, but the podcast will likely be recorded here at the YouTube channel on Sundays. Again, if you want to become a part of the podcast live streams and join in with us, just search YouTube for Spaz Boys Comedy. You'll find us. Join up with us here. Just subscribe to the channel. Not only do we do these podcasts, but we have live streams all the time. Live streams are just something we all enjoy here as a group. I enjoy immensely. We have our Free For All Friday live streams, which are just an absolute riot, where we talk about anything and everything. But it's a good time here. Please come on and join us. The podcasts always are available here at the channel as well. If you want to listen to them in that manner, you can also hear the podcast at Apple Podcasts or any one of the major outlets. There's a link in the description of this video to where you can go find the podcast anywhere you want. It'll link the other places for you. But thank you all so much for the great conversation. Thank you all for the good time. Thank you all those listening at the podcast. Come back and join us again. There's always something new and fun to talk about. And if we can't find something new and fun to talk about, we'll just spend the time making fun of me. I will talk to all you guys really soon.